Much easier.
Members, as you start coming in, this is Emma. I'm here with the rest of our board, and we're going to be starting in just a moment. If you put your screen on gallery view, you'll be able to see all of us. We're going to have a fun meeting tonight, so welcome. Please remember you can drop your comments into the chat section. If you want to address specific people, you can do that as well. Make sure you're doing all attendees. And we'll be starting in just a couple more minutes. I want to let everybody come in. Yes, Jeremy, thank you for the reminder to all panelists and attendees so everyone can see your comments. Once we get to the presentation part of the meeting, we'll have Sasha Vosk, who will be speaking, our featured speaker tonight. We will also take questions and answers. So please put those into the Q&A section. Our secretary, John Semlak, just popped the agenda into the chat. And
I tried to get the impeachment on the agenda, but I was overruled. I'm sorry.
We're going to try to behave ourselves. Let's just put it that way in terms of politics tonight. So I actually, true confession, I have MSNBC on a little screen next to me just to keep my blood pressure up. So exactly. All right. So yes, Matthew, we're very well behaved. We're trying to be well behaved. All right. So we're going to let everyone come in. Wow, we're at 83 already. This is great. Our first meeting of the year of 2021. I saw a tweet the other day that said we're still in the extended cut of 2020. So hopefully things will be better in a little bit longer. All right. So Karen, I'm not sure if Zoom made changes. You may need to update your Zoom. They do constantly do updates. So let's see. I see the numbers have slowed down a little bit. Okay. So if everyone should have, yes, Matthew, very good points. To December 43rd, 2020. I think that's a good idea to refer to it as that. Okay, all right, so let's get going. Again, put yourself on gallery view so you can see everybody, and we'll get started. So welcome to our January meeting. We did put it off by a week due to national events down in DC. And we do have some guides who are both DC Guild members and GANYC members and who live in the district, so I wanted to wish them all well. I did speak to Jackie, the president of the Guild, and to Ellen, the president of NFTGA, and they're both in DC, and they're both fine, thank goodness, and so they do send their best. So welcome, everyone. If you have a look at the agenda, if there's anything that, I don't think there's anything that needs to be modified or changed, but you can drop that into the chat. We will be having two speakers tonight. Our first guest speaker will be Bob Provost from NYSTIA, and then our other one will be Sasha Vosk, who will be speaking about his book on 400 years of New York history. But before we do that, I'd just like to make a few comments. So, and Joe, the agenda is in the chat. You can just click on the link and you'll find it there. So yeah, so Happy New Year, everyone. And I'm glad to virtually see you all. Just a few reminders. Please renew. We will be having a report from membership. We're very happy to see that that a lot of people have been renewing. It's very important for us because your renewal dues, your membership dues go to supporting all the great things that GANYC does. Renewals will be accepted through the end of the week to January 15th. And after that date, anyone who's not renewed by that date will be considered a lapsed member, which means that you will not have access to the members portion of the GANYC website or the GANYC members Facebook group, and you will not be able to attend FAM tours or to access the digital FAM tours. So please make sure you renew when you get a chance. You can renew through the end of March without the late fee being charged, the $15 late fee. And membership for the full year is $125. Insurance is separate. Keep that in mind. Insurance is separate. That is through the NFTGA's insurance, and that is $98. You'll find all the information on the website. If you're having issues with the renewal, you can email finance@ganyc.org or membership@ganyc.org. So finance and membership, those will be the ways to get in touch with the people who can help you out, namely Jeremy and Derek. Now, I'd like to mention a few save the dates that are coming up. On February 21st is International Tour Guide Day. That was sponsored by the WFTGA. And this year will be, of course, a virtual event. And Michael Dillinger and I are working on this on behalf of the NFTGA for an event on the 21st. It will be February 21st from noon to 3 p.m. And so we're working on that event, and more details will be coming soon. The day after that, February 22nd, that is the GANYC Apple Awards. And Matt Baker will be updating us on the awards, our virtual awards. It's going to be a lot of fun. Just a little note, you can still vote, and you please vote for the nominees that you want to win the Apple Award. You have to until January 19th to vote, okay? And that's open to the GANYC members. You'll find, yes, Bob, thank you for the reminder. You'll find the information on the website. You can go right in and vote on the Apple Awards. And this is a great way to show your support for the Apple Awards and to pick the best of New York, okay? And then finally, the WFTGA that was going to have the WFTGA that was supposed to have their biannual meeting in Serbia this year, of course, that has been canceled. They will be having a virtual meeting, and lucky me, I'm on the planning committee for that. So that will be March 4th, 5th, and 6th. Okay, so keep that in mind, March 4th, 5th, and 6th. We're kind of scrambling away to get everything organized and get everything arranged for that, but it will be a 3-day virtual conference. It's an international conference, so there are going to be all sorts of interesting timing with it, so we can try to make sure as many people from around the world can attend as many sessions as possible. But again, March 4th, 5th, and 6th, those are the dates that are set aside for the WFTGA virtual conference. Now, of course, it wouldn't be a president's address without me reminding you all to take care of yourselves. And I know I'm just a bundle of stress and nerves these days. I feel like I'm getting it from all sides. I had a whole family thing with my son who was exposed to COVID. And when we got his negative test, we found out my daughter had been exposed to COVID, but her test was negative. So I've been taking 3-mile walks up and down the Palisades just to work it out of my system. I think Jeremy had the best way of doing it, eating random interesting snacks in one of our wonderful cemeteries in New York City. That's a really good way of sort of grounding yourself and setting yourself. And some good news, I'm very happy to see that, of course, there are more vaccines. The age group for the vaccines has been lowered. 65 and up can get the vaccine. I know our demographics tend to skew a little older, so I hope a lot of you have been able to make your appointments and to get your appointments. My parents have been vaccinated. Some of my friends who are doctors have been vaccinated. So I'm going to be at the very tail end of it, but I'm hoping everyone else will get theirs as soon as possible. So yeah, so a little self-care, a little self-love is always a good thing, you know, whether it's chocolate or salty snacks or a little vino or something stronger, or even just, I'm really into having a nice, when I get stressed out, I've started having a nice hot cup of water. That's about all I can take right now. So take care of yourselves, take care of each other, reach out to the board should you need anything. Even if you just want to vent and grumble about something, I'm always happy to listen. I will vent and grumble right back with you. And reach out to some of your fellow members. If you see somebody's a little stressed out, we can see this sometimes on social media, you'll get that sort of sense that something may be not quite right. Just pick up the phone, just call somebody up, shoot them a message, you know, yeah, Glenn Fiddick, says Robert Brenner. That's a good, that works too. That can work too. So, you know, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. And that's the great thing about GANYC is we are this wonderful, wonderful community. So we can commiserate and we can support each other, and we can be here for each other. And we really are. So, you know, keep in mind, always get in touch with the board if you should need anything, and we will always do our best to do what we can to help out. So with that said, let's move on with the heart of the meeting, with the rest of our meeting. And I'm going to turn it over to Mike Morgenthau, who will be introducing our first speaker. So thank you, Mike.
Great. Thank you, Emma, and Happy New Year, everybody. And thank you for your flexibility in terms of rescheduling the meeting from last week. We're hoping most of you were able to come over from registering last week. I'm here to introduce our first guest speaker of the day, Bob Provost, who is the president and CEO of NYSTIA, which stands for the New York State Tourism Industry Association. I hope I got that right. And Harvey Davidson and I attended the most recent NYSTIA online conference, and we made some great connections. And Bob and his team mentioned a program called New Yorkers for New York, which they're working on right now and would seem to jive pretty well with our Tour Your Own City campaign. So we're excited to have Bob here, and we're going to turn it over to him. And there should be some time at the end of Bob's presentations for some questions. So if you do have questions, just put them in the Q&A box and we will be monitoring them. So without further ado, Bob, take it away.
Okay, let's see. You'll have to confirm when you can see my screen. Let me know when we're good.
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, well, obviously, we're the New York State Tourism Industry Association. I want to follow up on Emma's comment. I've been drinking lots of tea, but when it gets really bad, I go back to this late 1800s buffet server with all the crystal decanters, and a glass of port really soothes it. In any case, we all have our own remedies, right? And this is a really kind of a timely introduction to this topic of New Yorkers for New York. But first, I want to talk about our organization. And essentially, since I got involved in late fourth quarter 2018, I kept hearing we need to support tourism. We need more support for tourism. Tourism is under-recognized. And I agree, except the goal is not tourism. And tourism, it sounds like it's somebody else's job or somebody else's industry. A lot of residents in our communities, businesses in our communities, don't recognize that tourism plays a role in their lives. And I want to come back to that, but we've been working with the theme, tourism. It's everybody's business. That, you know, this should mean something to the resident, to the local business community, to local elected officials, corporate leadership in the community, because it impacts everybody. First, I also want to, tell you that I appreciate the reciprocal relationship that we have, that, we are both members of each other's organizations. Michael, you mentioned the Tour Your Own City initiative. I thought it would be good, and when I prepared my little slide deck to show that landed on our news page on November 20th, went out in our newsletter and was appreciated by our members. That's a big part of our role, is to keep the tourism community connected with one another and to facilitate communication and awareness, but it's not the only thing we do. So what do we mean when we say tourism is everybody's business? And essentially, tourism isn't a goal, it's a means to an end. I'm a big advocate that tourism advances economic growth, job creation, quality of life, and pride of place. It supports small businesses in large. It revitalizes communities, downtowns, and the great outdoors. It's something we need to approach with an eye to sustainability, if not stewardship. In other words, do no harm or leave it better than you found it. There needs to be a profound social conscience to protecting that tourism asset that we have in our community in order to preserve it for future residents and visitors. But ultimately, the customer in tourism is the resident. And I will come back to that as well. We facilitate this economic growth by realizing the potential of New York State's tourism industry, and we do that by facilitating the success of our members. If I was to say, you know, what is the mission of the New York State Tourism Industry Association? 3 words: facilitate member success. We're here to help everybody succeed. And we serve the industry through collaborative initiatives like the one we're going to discuss tonight, original and secondary research that we share throughout the community, legislative awareness, and I hope I have time to talk about that, and exceptional marketing. So a little background on the New Yorkers for New York issue. The industry, it's no secret, COVID-19 has devastated tourism more than any other industry in New York State. Since March 1st, 2020, New York State travel spending declined year over year by 72%. That's $50 billion. Leisure and hospitality employment, which just that one category, according to the New York State Department of Labor, is down 48%. Residents are unemployed. Businesses are struggling to survive, if they're surviving. And also state and local tax revenues have been severely diminished. This is just not just a problem for our industry, it's a problem for every community and every resident in the state of New York. The repercussions will affect everybody economically. When you think about 48% unemployment, you think about approximately 450,000 jobs that are no longer in existence at this point in time. Not only are you thinking about the state and federal government having to pay out unemployment benefits and other types of economic aid, but you are also foregoing all of the income tax revenue that flows to the state and federal government from those jobs. So, you know, for years, we've been trying to convince our elected officials that we play a significant role in the economic health and vitality of the community. This, unfortunately, is a year where we don't have to convince them. They can see that for themselves. The resident, however, is also dealing with issues, and you know, it's the public health precautions, but it's also the isolation, the fear of infection, the stress and anxiety and depression that come from living this altered reality that so many people have had to deal with. And you know, we wanted to take a look at how do we address both of these in order to assist in the recovery of our industry, but also assist the people of New York State. The industry, looking at, you know, reality, New York State residents represent the largest, most affluent, and frankly ideal consumer audience with the potential to maximize our post-COVID tourism recovery in 2021 and beyond. Many parts of New York State actually had strong tourism seasons in 2020 because New Yorkers really couldn't leave the state without quarantining. And consequently, in many markets, the long-term rental market, staycations, workcations, schoolcations, people didn't come for a weekend or even a week. They came for a summer. They came for a month. I was talking to one innkeeper in the early part of June when things were reopening, and they were concerned, you know, do I want to go through this? You know, am I going to be able to get rentals? Are people going to be interested? They called me a week later. One person had called them, rented the entire inn for 3 months, and was moving all of the different parts of their family. Aunts, uncles, grandparents, and children were going to be spending their summer there as a means of, you know, finding an escape. So, you know, it's not hard to imagine how we can assist each other in recovery. The consumer in this issue and this thought process, we need them to think about traveling in state. And there is a body of research called Planning Travel Powers Positivity. And this research was conducted back in the summer during the initial COVID issue, and it demonstrated that anticipating travel, looking at what travel opportunities you have in the future, delivers significant mental health benefits. Exploring, contemplating, developing, even booking future travel, even if it's 6 months out or a year out, generates happiness and alleviates stress and uncertainty, and has a positive effect on the public during the pandemic. I think we all realize that, despite all of what we've been through, the next 6 to 8 weeks are probably going to be the most arduous. We have the new mutated strains, the higher rate of infection, the spikes in hospitalizations. Increasingly, we're going to be asked to isolate again, perhaps even more stringently than we were last March, April, and May. And, what can we do to, in a very, doing good while doing well is my theme here. What can we do in terms of doing good that represents something wholesome and healthy for the consumer, but also represents a positive marketing move for the industry? So New Yorkers for New York is conceived as a grassroots COVID-19 relief initiative. It is intended to be a concerted and collaborative statewide effort to lift spirits and relieve stress by providing New York residents opportunities to explore New York from home, to discover the many destinations and experiences available to them, so that when the time is right, they can travel responsibly. There's so many virtual experiences, tours, videos, activities, games, trivia questions, jigsaw puzzles that our members across the state of New York created during the first shutdown of New York. I shouldn't say first. I don't think they're going to totally shut it down again, but back in March and April. But they were targeting their local consumer, their neighbor, helping them to get involved. There's so much inventory out there of really exciting, interesting stuff that needs to be shared beyond your local market, so that someone in Niagara Falls is experiencing New York City while someone in New York City has the opportunity to virtually experience Niagara Falls. And along with this is to rally New Yorkers to think New York first when the time comes that they can truly contemplate future travel and vacation plans. First thing we need to do is include in our messaging that when they're ready to travel, New York State destinations are not only accessible and affordable, but they're operating safely, observing all the protocols and precautions, and most importantly, going to provide them with a great experience and create memories that they can treasure for years to come. We're not asking them to take a second-rate or third-rate vacation. We're asking them to discover the first-rate opportunities that they can find all over the state of New York. The second thing is we want to provoke interest. There's so much about our state that our residents don't know. All of the New York places you've never been, all of the New York experiences you've never had, and at the same time, all of the places and experiences that you miss and want to visit or experience again. We've got to raise the profile. I've had so many discussions with members of the media who are like themselves not informed about what New York has to offer. And then I'm following up and they're telling me, oh, I went to this, place that you told me. I visited this. We spent a weekend here. We went hiking there. And they're thrilled. They just had no idea what was in their own backyard. So the other aspect of this relief initiative is to communicate to our leadership and our residents, planning your travel in New York State. First of all, it's going to lift your spirits and power positivity to do that exploration, develop a wish list or a bucket list, as you were, of things I want to do when I can travel. But you're also going to help re-employ your fellow New Yorkers. You're going to support the survival of the businesses, restore vitality to communities, and rebuild state and local tax revenues. We have a proclamation in front of the legislature right now to recognize and urge the members of the state, the residents of the state, to explore New York at home. That's under consideration. But we also have a robust grassroots campaign. We have ads that have been promised us in over 300 New York State newspapers. We have op-ed pieces that we've written and press releases that are drafted to go on out and raise profile for this. I've had discussions with a number of television reporters over the last 6 months, and now we're reaching out to them and saying, you know, we were here for you when you wanted some stats and some statistics and some information. Could you lend some visibility to this initiative? And I really think that it's not just New Yorkers for New York, it's New York for New Yorkers. This state is yours. And how can you help take care of it? It's almost like Kennedy's, ask not what your country can do for you, think rather what you can do for your country. And in our case, this is another case of reaping dividends in both directions. By doing something good for your fellow residents and communities, you're actually going to have a great experience and a good time. What can you do? Well, we're asking all of our members to acknowledge this initiative in their social media, in their email, in their newsletters. If they're willing to go that far, to write letters to the editor. I also want to note that in the past 8 months, in-state travel has done a lot to benefit upstate New York, and it hasn't done much because of the circumstances to benefit New York City. And so I'm including a line here. What goes up won't necessarily come down. The fact that New York City and Long Island residents are traveling to upstate to seek, you know, distancing in the outdoors and an environment that they perhaps felt healthy and safe in doesn't necessarily mean that when New York reopens, upstate New Yorkers are going to automatically say, well, now I should go to the city. We need to have a concerted effort to reattract the upstate travelers to New York City. And more than reattract, we need to attract people who didn't even have it on their list, in the same way that New York City residents discovered the Finger Lakes wine region. It's actually rated as the best wine region in America for travelers and touring. But it was not on the list of places to go for New York City residents. They couldn't go to the Napa Valley. They couldn't go to the French or Italian wine regions. And so this year they went to the Finger Lakes in the Upper Hudson Valley. And those people saw travelers they'd never seen before. We need to get the message out and reciprocate throughout the rest of the state about all the things that are available to upstate travelers when they can come to New York City. We're ready to roll up our sleeves. It's a twofold relationship. We work closely with Fred Dixon and Kelly Curtin at NYC and Company. And as you've already indicated, Michael, you're a member of the organization and participate in a number of the things that we do already. And that's essentially, you know, what I have on the issue of New Yorkers for New York. Have I used up all my time?
We can give you 1 or 2 more minutes, Bob.
Okay. I just, one of the things that may happen, and it's entirely up to the people at your organization, is getting involved in advocacy on behalf of tourism. We're not a lobbying organization, but we certainly embrace the concept of legislative awareness and being vocal. On our website, which is open to the public under the Our Role tag on that navigation rail, making the case for tourism. All of the things that I was saying tonight are reiterated here. I like to say tourism is the Rodney Dangerfield of, you know, industry in New York. We get no respect, but the reality is we're the 3rd largest industry in the state, supporting 960,000 jobs in 2019, and we need to get that back. We also need to get back the, you know, $9.1 billion in revenue for our state and local governments, which translates into the equivalent of $1,248 per household in the state of New York. That's a huge number. So the key again is not to ask people to support New York, but to ask them to invest in all of the good things or support tourism, but to ask them to invest and recognize that the marketing expenditures and investments in tourism are investments that generate returns. They're not an expense where you spend the money and it's gone. It's a situation where we've delivered dividends year after year after year for the state. We orchestrated a Empire State Development Market New York grant in 2019. They gave us $380,000 grant. We worked with 39 of our members to do a marketing program that generated directly. We were able to document over $4 million in hotel bookings and a total of $13.6 million in total spending in the state of New York. And the state realized $660,000 in tax revenues off that. That's the kind of documentation we try to do to show them that tourism, again, is an investment that generates returns. They gave us $380,000 in 2018. We returned $660,000 to them in 2019. So that's my sum in total. I hope, Michael, I gave you what you were looking for.
Yeah, that was terrific, Bob. Thank you so much. And I'll just echo, it's funny, you mentioned about how New Yorkers, particularly New York City people, travel to Upstate. Myself and fellow board member John Semlock were both in the Finger Lakes at the exact same week earlier this summer. So we really understand that. And we look forward to working with NISTIA on your initiatives and various other partnerships we can have to get Upstaters down to New York, and also to help continue to promote travel throughout the state. We did have one question from one of our members, so I just want to put this to you, Bob, and then after that we can move along. This question is from Cindy Ladopoulos. Since the New York Times travel show isn't happening this year, are you planning any in-person events or virtual events for consumers to promote activities all over the state? She's specifically asking about this way tour guides can start escorting guests to areas outside of the city, Upstate. So any other kind of, plans to reach out to the consumer that you didn't mention?
If I can share screen again quickly,
yep.
I'll show you. Let me know when you're seeing the screen.
Yep.
Okay. Bear with me. And this was just announced today. We, at 4 o'clock, I had a call with all of the destination marketing organizations in the state. And, we have 62 state tourism promotion agencies. But from our perspective, I'm taking you behind the scenes in our website. So bear with me. These pages have not gone public yet.
We love getting an exclusive, Bob, so.
So one thing we're doing very quickly is initiative with an online company called the Travel Guide Group. They operate several websites that are highly SEO, SEM maximized for traffic. We're, typically members of our organization, in order to be a part of physical travel shows, we do about 24 shows a year. And, folks who are signing up for half or more of them are spending in the neighborhood of $3,000. This is a program where we're going out and building pages where their guides are available. People can indicate, I'm interested in these kinds of activities. And we have a matrix that matches them up with the people who have materials. They can also go in and say, I'm interested in these regions, and be matched with the appropriate individual. But as you can see here, we're looking at a fairly reasonable $600 a participant to be listed and have your brochures available and be a part of that lead generation system. The second thing we're doing is building on our website a travel guide listing page where we can link consumers directly to all of our members' guides and information. And, you know, it's not anything we're charging our members for. We're building it out as we speak. We announced it today. We had done a soft launch so we could build a spec page, and we've got a couple of dozen people have already done it. But that's now up and live, and people are looking at it. And, you know, I imagine we're going to be flooded over the next couple of days. So yeah, we're trying to do everything we can in the virtual world to get people to visit individual websites. We're not looking to drive traffic to the Nistia website. We're not a consumer facing organization. We're trying to drive consumers to our members' websites and to get our members' literature.
That's great. That sounds like a great way to approach the issue of reaching out to consumers, and we'll certainly look into that at a GANYC level as well to participate in that program. We have one more quick question, and so Bob, if you could not try to answer this in about 45 seconds, that would be great. This question comes from Richard Sanford. What is the situation with ski slopes in upstate New York? Are people from the city going upstate to the slopes, with the corollary that since many travel by bus to ski resorts upstate, that creates a bit of a sense of concern?
Yeah, our resorts are open. A gentleman by the name of Scott Brandy runs the Ski Areas of New York Association. They have diligently worked with the state to develop an appropriate set of safe precautions and guidelines. Many of the ski lodges are operating without even opening their inside facilities, and they're operating at about, I believe, 50% capacity on the slope, which gives them the social distancing and things that they need to protect their members. I had a conversation very recently with the head of I Love New York, who indicated to me that there hadn't been one reported case of an infection that was traced to a ski slope yet. And they are operating pretty much at that reduced capacity that they're allowed. And people are coming from the city. You can't go to Vermont without a quarantine. You can't go to the Massachusetts ski areas. It's kind of a bizarre way to get people to discover what New York has to offer, but most people don't know we have more ski areas than any other state in the continental United States.
Great. I think that answered Richard's question. So we could sit here and talk all day, but we do have other items on our agenda. So Bob, thank you so much for taking the time and for all you're doing to help promote tourism in New York State. And we look forward to continuing and increasing the level of partnership between Nistia and GANYC as we move forward. So thank you again, Bob.
Thank you, and thank you for all the work you do to make New York City accessible and interesting for people. I look forward to taking some tours in the near future.
Thank you, Bob.
By all means.
Great. Thank you so much, Bob. Thank you, Mike, for helping facilitate this discussion. It was very, very interesting. And I think we're good to move on to our next item on the agenda, which is our industry partner vote.
Okay, so I guess that's me again. So we have one partner to vote on. This is On Location Tours. Notice was sent out a couple of weeks ago, and many of you probably saw that there was some discussion about On Location Tours in our Facebook group. I am about to send out the ballot to everybody who is a full voting member. And you should receive it in your email shortly. We, as we have done since we've started having these meetings on Zoom, we'll leave this poll open till tomorrow morning, just to allow people to vote. Basically, when I wake up in the morning, I will stop the poll and tally up the results, or just look at the results as they're tallied. But we do want to say that if anybody has anything to add about On Location Tours, you can post it in the chat room right now, and then we'll move on from there. So it might take a few minutes for the ballot to come to you, so don't freak out if it doesn't come right away, but you should get it shortly. So if anybody has any thoughts about On Location Tours, you can certainly type it into the chat box at this time. If you don't, that is totally fine as well. Bill Goodhart asked the question, any issue with whether their guides are licensed? As was discussed on the Facebook page, a couple of our members, in particular Riley Kellogg, reached out to them. They do hire people who are not yet licensed, but they don't allow them to give tours until they get their license. So they start training them, but per their own answers to Riley and others, only licensed guides actually give tours for on-location tours. That's what we've been told. Okay. Any other questions or discussion points?
There is some discussion in chat, so if everyone wants to refer to that. And as Michael said, you can vote on it through the evening. So if you all want to continue, if there are anything else that comes up, we can keep that going in the chat. Oh, great. Susan Solar just said she got her email already. So you should all be receiving it shortly over the course of the next couple minutes. So we'll leave that going in the chat. And anything else, Mike, that you need to add?
Nope, I believe that's everything.
Okay. All right, well then let's move on then with the next part of our meeting. Thank you so much, Mike, and thank you everyone. Please please do your voting later today, this evening. Our next speaker will be introduced by our corresponding secretary, John Semlak. So, John.
Hello, everybody, and I'm very honored to introduce our next speaker for tonight, Sasha Vosk, and I have to say I've only met him tonight, but I'm very excited to hear him talk about his book, 400 Years of New York History, a Pictorial Guide. Sasha, just one small note, Dobro požalovat v naša asociacja. Okay, anyway, enough of that. Sasha is a Brooklyn-based writer and director, muralist, and illustrator, as I've hinted, who immigrated from Russia, where he was educated as an architect. He is a film producer as well. Credit includes Billy Crystal, Midnight Train to Moscow, which is now on my to-watch list, and director-producer of the Moscow Circus's worldwide tours. He is a New York history buff with more than 30 years of experience using the technique of photorealism in illustration and mural work. So that's, I hope, enough information about you, Sasha. I give you the floor. You can share your screen, and the meeting is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you. Well, first of all, it's an honor to be here. And hello, everybody. Happy New Year to you all. And I sincerely wish that comes spring or summer, you all should be overwhelmed with the visitors. That would be lovely. So yeah, the name is Sasha Vosk. I'm a New Yorker of 40 years. And well, I'm very much into its past, obviously. I'm an author of the book called 400 Years of New York History, a Pictorial Guide. My expertise is in photorealistic imagery, be it in illustrations or murals. In this presentation, I want to show you that the first volume of my book, which is called New York as New Amsterdam in the 1600s, could become one of the most useful tools in serving your needs, guiding the visitors, guiding the locals who are interested. But before, I wanted to tell you why and what made me to take up this task and turn it into a full-time job for 4.5 years. I fell in love with New York way before I came here. I was back in Russia in the 70s, and then 95% of Russian citizens could not even think of traveling anywhere abroad, let alone trips to America. The Soviet leaders were kind of afraid they wouldn't let the citizens draw the comparisons between the communist heaven and the realities of the rest of the world. But they could not forbid a dream, rather, and especially as vivid as mine was. Traveling the world and settling down in the city of my dreams, New York City. Dreaming was not a figure of speech. I was actually having repeat dreams for several years, and they kept me going with my resolution through some hard times. That included a couple of years in the Soviet Air Force, but an unthinkable surprise was waiting for me upon my discharge. Finally, it paid off being a Jewish person in the very anti-Semitic USSR. I'll explain. At the time, Russia had some poor harvests for several years in a row, and they badly needed American grains. So thanks to the efforts of American Jewish leaders, the US grains did go to the Soviet Union, but under one very unprecedented condition. The Soviets had to let the Jews out of their heaven to join their families in Israel and everywhere else. So that's how my dream got traded for the American grains, and there were no complaints at all. So I finally found myself strolling Broadway, which actually in my dreams, that's what I was doing. I was floating over Broadway, settling down on the windowsills of the skyscrapers and watching this commotion beneath. It was just keep coming back time after time. So finally I ended up on Broadway, and I was besides myself from joy. Now, what led me to switch my life to this book mission 4.5 years ago actually started back then, 40 years ago. Because when my euphoria settled down, I realized that I was missing something. Actually, a lot, more than 250 years worth. It was the historical Manhattan. Somebody might say, well, like, what's the big deal? More old buildings or less buildings, how could it really seriously affect somebody's feelings for the city that they love? Well, for me it did, because back in Moscow, I was educated as an architect. And the affinity with architecture that ran in my family for several generations was strong. So I did feel the need to know what New York of today was like back then. What was architectural history of New York? So in between doing all kinds of things with my life, I kept coming back to that. Let me get a screen at this point. Sorry, there we go. I was keep coming back to this visual void in the city's history, trying to figure out what could I do about it. And near 5 years ago, I stumbled on something that you guys are facing every day of your touring work. Forget the physical presence of the old New York, it's not there, but there was basically nothing to show pictorially for the way the original city looked like back then. For almost 200 years, there's nothing. I mean, we all know, and you know better than anyone, that there's only so much that one can do, even with the best of verbal descriptions. But where were those pictures worth 1,000 words? Nowhere. So solving that dilemma, that's what made me to pick up my brush and my helpers to pick up theirs. So without a further ado, here's New York as New Amsterdam. Let me get another screen. Share this, here we go. There it is. So let me run through. This is just the beginning. I am actually starting the book with those treasured remnants of the visual of the visual history. Well, that's of course the latest. Sorry, but here we go. The few precious pieces that we've inherited from New Amsterdam to New York. So you all know them very well. And here we go. This is the starting point, Manhattan of today. And the same time of 1609, or right before the settlers moved in. So that's the view of Manhattan, Brooklyn, New Jersey. Let me go through closer fragments. If that's too fast, but I just wanted to cover a lot of ground here. So just here I'm just mentioning for the first time, I'm mentioning the natives and their incredible skills in navigation. And here's, well, I was told the first such portrayal of the Lenape Indians. And yes, as you will know, they prefer to call themselves Indians, not the Native Americans. So I try to recreate as much as I can and as much precision to show most of the activities over there. See the gatherings, the medicine man. It was very important to me, and you'll see that I'll talk about the historical reliability a little bit later, but now that I'm touching on that, I wanted to let you know that it was extremely important to me to keep it historically reliable and up to date, actually. So even the trees were picked, thank God, or thanks for Adrian van der Donk. Even the trees, the choices were correct and up to his notes. So that's the activities that brought the Europeans over here. And here are the first, of course, explorers. So I created the contemporary images. Anyway, the Verrazana, I tried, as you can see, because the main focus is in pictorial history, it really did put a lot of pressure on me with the captions, because there was a lot of ground to cover. And I was trying to find something not well known, something interesting, which hopefully you'll see and read in the book. So I found that about Giuseppe Verrazana, somewhat about Hudson. So this is the ship is right there, and the crew meeting the locals. Of course, the actual reason the New York owes its foundation to beavers, I'm covering that, bringing out the proofs of that as well. And here's, I must say, my extreme pride. This is the first ever reconstruction of the first village of New Amsterdam in 1626, 1628. And of course, this is a wonderful opportunity to show you. I mean, I'm smiling as it is like, well, the computer needs some time to adjust, but actually you'll be able, everybody will be able to see a lot of details. Sorry, then. Oh, okay, well, it's just starting to bring up. It's a lot of information for this computer, a lot is open, but you'll be able to actually zoom on all of these details and see them and enjoy, and I'll touch on that a little bit later. So the more details of that period of 1626, 1628, see the construction, Now you can see all that you've been writing about. There's only one bastion being stone and made out of stone. So there, being an architect allowed me to, I mean, that's probably a good thing to mention, that as we all know, obviously history doesn't belong to the historians. And I strongly believe if somebody's history is professional enough and interested enough and can deliver something that helps to bring that history alive, they definitely should do. So my being an architect allowed me to, by reading what we've inherited, and we have done a lot of that, so to pair it up, what was done, what kind of houses, what kind of dwellings were at the time in Europe, in the southern country, and show the actually what was happening from just the dugouts, getting to some more serious constructions. Well, another invention of Dutch, the frigates, more of the life scenes from that time. Please let me know if it's too crazy, if I'm too fast with moving the images. Is that all right so far? Okay.
It's great, Sasha. Any comments from my fellow board members?
Thank you. All
I
right.
think it's
So
wonderful, wonderful.
thank you so much. Just the way I formatted the book, I'm giving visual or the bird's eye view, and then I'm showing the life of the same period in much more close-ups, much closer. So that's this is the close-up kind of. This is the life in early New Amsterdam, and you'll be able to, and all of you will be able to walk through this. And as I said, that you could actually zoom and see in details. And if my computer will not let me, you'll need to take my word for it. And when you'll see, I have the best quality of the book is actually online view. It's some 4-7 gigabytes file, so you can really get, and maybe if we'll have a few minutes, I'll show that as well. So this is, as you can see, I wanted to show as much history, some of the key board members of the Dutch West India Company. This is your transition from the beaver to the hat. There will be a kind of small bits of information of how that worked. Now, of course, this is the famous trade, the trading Manhattan for the Dutch know-how of the time. And I'll have that actually right here. So you'll see this conversation when both sides barely understand each other, yet you see what Manhattan was actually bought for, and this is much more than just 60 guilders. More of life right there. Some close-ups. Trading the chats. At one point, I'll slow it down and I'll make a short stop.
Sasha, sorry to interrupt you. I think one very important question, it'd be good to get now, because I think a lot of us are just stunned by these images, and I'm sure some of us want to investigate this further. But I think we're not clear, or some of us aren't. Pardon me. What format is this book like in terms of how we get it? Is it an ebook? Do we buy it on Amazon Kindle, or do we buy it on or some other thing? Is there a physical version? Can you answer that in full?
Perfect timing. Now the book is on Amazon. It's right there. It's been there for the first month, just out, and then there will be there will be this soft cover, which is being printed in Turkey. So it's right there. And another very neat format is this custom designed flash drive of the book. So so there are different ways. I mean, that obviously will save space on your computer. It's a gift. It's just in between the ebook and the actual book. So there will be three formats.
Pardon me, I just want to clarify. If there is a hardback and a future soft cover version, is
Yes.
on Amazon, is there a digital version as well that you can get, or is
That's the digital. That's the ebook.
Right.
Is on Amazon right now.
Okay, great.
Everything else is, well, the flash drive. The flash drive is available and could be purchased through this company, but the book should be in, the actual book should be in hopefully in March.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry,
So
continue.
paying tribute to Adrian van der Donk. And now this is a view of 1664 or 1660s, actually 1660. That's before 1664. I'm rushing a little bit. While I'm here, let me make a short stop while you're looking at it. Most of you also might have a very legitimate question. Are these impressive images? Are they just pretty pictures? Can we depend on their historical reliability? So to me, as I mentioned, that was very important. And I wanted both. I wanted the photorealistic depiction of the time, and I wanted to make it up-to-date, historically reliable. So ensure that I secured help from two, I guess, I would call best experts on Dutch New York. One of them is a professor of history and author, Jaap Jacobs from the Netherlands. And another one is a notable American archaeologist, Joel Grossman. He was principal archaeologist or principal investigator of the archaeological works in Lower Manhattan. And I also occasionally consulted with the Mr. History of New Netherlands himself, Dr. Charles Gehring. When it came to the Lenape Indians, I was consulted by Jim Ramenter, I'm sorry. He is with Culture Preservation of the Delaware Tribe of Indians. So all three of them became my consultants and stuck with me through the whole process. So yes, you can definitely rely on, and as a matter of fact, some of the results of that collaboration might come to some of you as a surprise, because, well, and they will be almost illustrating some of the adjustments in some of the conventional views. Like, for instance, let's talk about, say, justly revered Castello plan versus the physical reality and the recorded realities of Dutch West India Company. I guess I didn't have to bring it up, you'll remember the plan, but the first obvious thing would be unrealistic flatness of the Lower Manhattan. And then there would be this, full of life canal that so many wrote about, but actually fantasized about. There was no such a thing as a useful canal. And more about that you can read in the book. So let's move along. Close-ups, but I know because being so stressed for time. Pearl Street, I'm showing, this is Broadway. Well, of course, Stuyvesant's residence in his family. Here's your first Stone Street with the first ever commercial brewery and many other things. And this is this canal, that's the inlet meets stream from the valleys right behind Wall Street. Even more close-ups of Broadway residents of the time, even closer up of Stone Street. And here I'm getting to the key point of English takeover and Dutch no more. What I wanted to kind of to touch upon, how this book could become a tool for both guides and you, the leadership of the association. There are two ways, there are actually two ways of doing it. One would be this book as ebook on your tablets, on your laptops, and it gives you a wide variety of things to do. The illustrations or the images could illustrate your straightforward presentation, or then you can zoom in and concentrate more on the topics that might be closer to you. For instance, some of you might fancy the natural environment of the island. You can zoom in and you'll get, just as you saw, you could see all different angles, all different views of Manhattan. Others might want to focus on the relationship of the local natives and settlers. And that also I ran through briefly, but there are places where you can zoom in and see the interactions. And then you can pour out your knowledge right there. I'm giving you the details, and I've planted many of them. So each of you could find something of your own to talk within the presentation. And now you're not just talking, it's not just verbal descriptions, you have the anchors. So you can just go right into it. But for the association, the way I'm proposing this, as I showed you, there is an actual book, the printed book. Then there is a flash. So this gift books could become a promotional memorabilia for the association. We can put sticker with the association's logo that just pop up momentarily, and also a QR code of your website. So when you hold both of these books in your hands, you'll know that when your visitors go back home and surely talk about the trip, they will pass the books around. So they will share it with their friends and family. So then a quick snapshot of the QR code will take those friends and family members straight to your website. And your marketing people will have fresh ears and fresh eyes. So that's, I'm sure they'll know what to do with that. So that's, having said that, let me show you some more details. My pride, special pride, I was working on his portrait for a while, and it was a wonderful process. That's the, seafront, waterfront, and Pearl Street, obviously, with all the action. More of a skyline, low so up, so better ways to see and really enjoy. Look, some of you might like or know a lot about the garments, about clothing. Here you have clothing of every sort for every kind of person of all different positions of that original motley New York society, so to speak. So that's basically, that brings me to the last stop in, this just shows, and that's a special kind of symbolic illustration, because it shows how overnight Amsterdam became New York in thoughts everybody cared about what New York was, as you all know, the business community, We don't care about belonging to the Dutch world. We need to survive, and overnight it became just very peaceful coexistence. You have Dutch soldier, kind of making up with a girl, an English soldier, an officer, and locals, and everybody's having a good time and going on with their lives. And this piece ends up 1660s. This is also very first recreation, the first Trinity Church. Here it is. And that kind of concludes the first volume of the book, which is New York is New Amsterdam in the 1600s. I'm open to the questions, and at the very end, I would like to make very, very short closing statement.
Yeah, no problem. Sasha, these images are incredible. One question was just how, can you tell us a little bit more about the creating of these images? What went into, making these incredible pictures of, what I think some of us, we've been touring the city for so many years, and like we've been showing people these sites and talking about Dutch New Amsterdam. Almost all people who grew up here learned about Peter Stuyvesant in school. My daughter's just struggling with the pronunciation of it in school right now, actually. And but we tend to only see black and white images, and this is just so stunning to see it in color. Can you tell us more about the image creation process?
John, it almost seems like we've been talking before the talk, and you just set it up right up there.
Thanks.
Obviously, it was much more than writing. Thank God, I keep saying that everything that I have done with my life before worked for this project just perfectly. I was a producer, I was a director, I wrote, so everything that I've done before was used here. After the research and writing, I had to become, there were photo shoots involved. I had to select, I had to audition performers. I worked with reenactors. I've shot the mise-en-scenes with my green screen. I myself made some of the props, some of the Indian props made by me. So between doing all different components, visual components, creating them, then they would go into the computer, and some of my helpers would use those and would construct the 3D models of everything you see. And then I would incorporate all the images, all the people, all the tiny little details. There is not a one detail there that is not hand-picked and put by me there. Then it would be all overworked in Photoshop, and with a real brush, with a 1 pixel brush, I was going over the canvas that is 15 to 17,000 pixels in length.
Okay. Yeah, I know these are just stunning. A couple of questions have come up that are technical. There's seems to be some interest in the flash drive. First of all, is the flash drive available yet? And it's available on your website, right?
Very much so. For both, it's better. I'm having a problem with my website, so unfortunately for now. So if anybody's interested, if my email address and the website could be posted,
Yes, if one of it's on the agenda, but if one of our board members could post the email, and your website's already been posted in chat, but there is
my email is there as well. So
yeah,
anybody who's interested in the flash drive could contact me directly, and we'll send them out.
Okay, and it works. One person did ask, I think this is usually pretty standard now, but one person did ask if it works on both Windows, Mac. My brother would want me to say Linux, but I don't know.
I thought through that. I have both. I have PC and Mac, so
okay,
all covered.
All right, great. One interesting question has come up about what like for viewing the images digitally, what kind of screen works best?
You know what? You'll see that basically on any screens, it's done for both. Well, one thing, thank you for bringing it up. It cannot be a Kindle unit because it's all black and white.
Okay, that's a very good question.
And that's a very good point because my brother in Ukraine, he made a mistake. He's reading on his Kindle. And when he bought the book, it by default went on his Kindle device and said, is it supposed to be black and white? I said, no, that's the first time I'll see it in black and white, actually. So that's a very good point.
Okay.
Make sure it's on all the, it could be definitely Kindle app, but not the Kindle device.
I haven't looked up the Amazon link, but somebody did post it in the chat room. But does the Amazon link to an ebook that is it's not a Kindle ebook? Is that correct?
No, it's ebook that could be on any downloaded on any devices. It's EPUB format, so it's fine.
Have you? So one question did ask if somebody would check. Can you put it on a large screen TV? Are the digitals that fine? Have you tried something like that?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you again. My goodness, thank you for those questions, everybody. My biggest joy was watching social studies teachers seeing the book on the smart board, because this is a huge file. It's a beautiful, huge file, and that's the best show I ever saw. So yes, it could be projected. It's a very, as I said, that it's a very large screen, large file. So yes, absolutely. It's for the schools. In schools, that's where they're going to present it. That's the best way to see the book.
Okay, and then this book is the first of a series, correct?
Yes.
Okay, when's the next one coming out?
Actually,
and what is it?
For the series, the next volume is coming up, and then will be 1700s and 1800s.
Okay. Finally, I'm sorry. Go finish your answer there.
No, it's all right. But because I could not answer the question, when is the next time? Because to put together another $60,000 to produce this book would take some effort, and I'm open to anybody who wants to take part of it. But that's exactly what it costs. Each of these images, time-wise and energy-wise, was about $6,000. So I hope maybe next year closer to next year. Hopefully we'll start the next volume.
Okay. We had a question just come up or came up recently of what type of research went into creating the images. I know you mentioned that you consulted several historians who specialize in New Amsterdam. Do you have any more to add to that?
Yes, I can. I have to tell you that I was doing research. I went through 4.5 years of college on New York. Everything you could think of, every possible link and website, you name it, I'm sure I've been there. And I've taken the information that needed. And that's, of course, besides going through well-established works, besides going through the works of Adrian van der Donk, that's your very original resource and all that. So yes, it's been up to the very last minute, I have to say, that adjustments were made. Somebody, as a matter of fact, a friend of mine, I toured Indonesia for 10 years, and somebody that I'm friendly with all of a sudden sent me a note. He said, I hope you're going to mention that New York was actually traded for the tiny little Indonesian island between English and Dutch. I had no idea. And the book was already basically in printing. I stopped that, I corrected, I edited to the caption. And so, yeah, it was diligent work done.
Part of that editing process, which never ends. Now, I mean, anytime you create an image like this, where you're trying to create a full representation of something that happened in the past, I mean, there must be a risk of, you're constructing images based on very partial information. I mean, historians are constantly, particularly this far back, working with very limited information. So how do you feel about, I mean, you know that you're just guessing in certain areas, but I mean, with tremendous effort to get every detail right. How do you find, what can you say is the balance in your work between getting the detail, getting the images, accurate versus any liberties you need to take maybe to just get a complete image out there?
I have to tell you, and it might sound a little kind of bold, but in this case, there's very little guessing. I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Yes. Remember I was showing you, well, the first village, say, first village of New Amsterdam. Yes, we don't know. We know the way it was laid down by Fredericks. We know that, but we also told them that's written. That's original source. Dugouts was there, right? As an architect, I don't have to guess what a dugout looked in the 1600s, because the same Dutch, the same Swedes, the same French had very much, they all lived in the same type of dugouts. So here, I knew that it would be different because the natives showed them that you can use the tree trunks to cover it. So there was some know-how that came from the Indians, and I incorporated. So for instance, when it comes to any kind of construction, it was not much of a guesswork. Yes, of course, I wouldn't know which house or which dwelling or which dugout was, on Pearl Street following which. But, that's of course guesswork. But everything else, how they might have looked like, we know. How the forts looked like, how the Dutch built their forts. Well, at the same time, there were plenty of forts. And as you know, Dutch were very, very strict, very straightforward. They repeated the pattern of the forts all over. So that was also, how do people dress? I didn't have to guess that. We knew how they were dressed. How did they look? We knew how they looked. What was Manhattan like? Thank God there are plenty of places up north, north of New York State. We could definitely match it up. So what else was a guesswork? As I say, not that much, really. This could be, okay, take this Trinity Church. There are two sketches. One of them is pretty good. So to an architect that is used to dealing with sketches and doing complete works, that's easy. I took the sketch, I took it as an architectural sketch, and voila. The rest, I just dressed it up, and you're looking at something that had, I dare to ask. And I went to a few meetings of our very respectful architects. I asked them, why nobody bothered to do this? This is not a genius work, but it just had to be done. So that's what it is. And actually, that leads me, if I may, to my short closing statement.
That would be great, Sasha. I just want to say this has been incredible. Your passion for this is, I think, rubbing off on a lot of us, and it's been very impressive. So yeah, if you could, we could go on all day, but I think we do have to bring this to a close. There are some remaining questions which will be in the chat room, including one that I'll post.
Send them
in
over.
the chat room. And you'll be able to stay there and answer them. Oh, yeah, but okay. Why don't you finish up with your closing statement? Thank you.
The history of this tremendous, such a dear city to all of us, is not celebrated by any meaningful ways. The expositions of the museums of history of New York, this is all good, but this is for very few. Why 8+ million people that celebrate every sorts of occasion don't get to commemorate the city that gives them everything and had done so for countless other millions for 400 years is beyond my understanding. So we can't change that. And I'm not even talking about the immense contribution that this city had done for the whole country, for the development of it. So we cannot change that, but what you can do, and you've been doing it for years, share your knowledge, your love for it, your reverence for the city with all those that need that, that want that, you know, one person at a time. And this is a great, humble, but much, much needed mission. So my mission, and I definitely call it mission, my mission was to give you a tool. So if you'll use it, I'll be very happy, but you have your mission and it's greatly, greatly appreciated. My passion comes only, or just from the passion to this city. I owe it everything. I call it my stepfather, and I kind believe that this work is my tribute, my thank you to my stepfather.
Thank you so much, Sasha. Again, you can any more questions, you can post them in the chat room from now on. And Sasha, if you're willing to remain here a little bit, you can answer those questions there.
I'll be happy to stay around.
This has been a tremendous presentation. I'm going to hand it over to our president, Emma.
I just actually wanted to jump in really quick and thank Sasha. He sent a copy of the flash drive over to the GANYC office, which I actually have here, and it's really kind of wonderful. I love how like the actual flash drive just sort of pops out from the image, and it's just, if you contact him on his website, I'm sure you can get all the information you want. It's really wonderful. So I want to thank Sasha for sending that over, because I was pouring through it the other day, and it's really quite fantastic.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yes, thank you, Sasha. That was just fascinating. And I kept leaning forward because I was trying to, jump into those spaces and to those wonderful, wonderful images. Thank you so much. And I have a friend who is a historian of costume. And so she studied the Dutch costumes. And so, yeah, we have pictures and we know what they look like. And I have to say that final image of all the figures together reminded me of a Jan Steen painting, when you have all those figures together, in the tavern scene and everything. So
obviously
really,
the inspiration, obviously.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. No,
I wish we talked, and I wish we talked when I was producing it, because I was looking for the costumes all over the place.
Yes, no, that's really wonderful. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. I think you'll have a lot of members who will be interested. We put the link to your website there, and I was just scrolling through the website, and I see you can download a free image, which is fantastic. Everybody's going to start changing their Zoom screens, I think, eminently. So thank you so much. And so yes, please stay on, Sasha. What I will do is I'm going to put you as we get going, I'll put you as an attendee, so you will still be able to see the chat, but you will be no longer on screen. So you may be a little more comfortable that way. So thank you, Sasha. Thank you, John, for doing such a great job moderating that. And so
thank you for the opportunity. Thank you very much.
It was wonderful. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move on to our committee reports. So what I need to do now is I'm going to bring Matt Baker onto the screen now, and he will give us an update on the awards committee. And so just a moment, so Matt will be coming up, and thank you again, Sasha. All right, so Matt, there we are, okay. So Matt, are you ready? Okay. Just need you to unmute yourself, Matt, and to get your camera on. All right, Matt, we cannot hear you just yet. I'm seeing if I can get Matt to be on screen and to go live. He should be able to. If we cannot do that, Matt, why don't I'll wait till you get yourself fixed up. Let me bring Nina on. She's our next committee chair who will be presenting. So let me get Nina ready. And Matt, if you let us know when you are all set. Okay, so I'm just adding Nina. We only have 4 committees presenting tonight. So I should have everybody.
Yeah, here. I think I'm here.
Yes, you are.
You see me? Okay, great. Hear me?
Do not
Yeah.
see you.
You see me? Here, okay, I pressed start video. There I am.
You were.
Here I am. East Village. And the thing to do to relax, to get your mind off all of this is, let me see, still pressed it.
Yeah, you're good now.
Is to watch one of the, our whole virtual tours and programs are now stored, have been stored under documents. And so recently, just this week, we did the Red Cross, a wonderful Red Cross presentation, Disaster Emergency Preparedness for Tour Guides, Individuals and Families, and that was on the 11th. And if you missed it, good news, you can actually catch up with it in the documents section. I think it's up now, right, Emma? Coming up, there's something coming up which is outstanding. And this is a collaboration with GANYC and also with collaboration with the Guild of Professional Tour Guides, Washington, D.C., who invited us to participate in their annual webinar, along with the Association of Philadelphia Tour Guides. And it's called From Federal Hall to the Capitol Steps, Inaugurations Then and Now. And I think Christina is at the meeting. If she wants to add anything, you know, feel free to jump in, or she can answer questions, Christina Bauer. But we're going to be covering the first inauguration of George Washington from the person in the street point of view. That's GANYC's contribution. We wanted to celebrate the breaking of the glass ceilings in many ways. So we're really proud to have Cynthia R. Copeland be our representative from New York University Steinhardt School. She's a cultural heritage interpreter, worked with the New York Historical Society. And then we're going on to Philly's contribution, the inaugurations of George Washington and John Adams, contrasting the two men. And Bob Schieber will be making that presentation. And he's an author and a tour guide with the Association of Philadelphia Tour Guides. And he, then after that, Steve Livengood, who is U.S. Capitol Society Director of Public Programs and Chief Guide, is going to do a presentation of the role of elections and inaugurations in our democratic process. And he'll give you inauguration details from Thomas Jefferson to Donald Trump. And behind the scenes at inauguration, Jean Bordowich, U.S. Capitol Historical Society Board of Trustees, she's a staff director of the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, will be talking about that. And there'll be plenty of time for question and answers. And I really thank Chris Bauer and Pat Abler. They're the guide education, the DC Guide Education Committee co-chairs, and they really put this whole thing together. And there'll be greetings from the president of the Guild, Jackie Friend, as well. Maybe Emma will join in too. She's invited to say hi. So we're looking forward to that. And registration is still open. We have the Zoom link, so it's not too late. And so that's the good news. And that starts tomorrow at 10 and it goes to 12. It will be recorded, but DC has the link. So if for some reason you can't make it. Then we have coming up the Costa Rica and Eco Tourist Paradise virtual tour. And our very own GANYC member, Fred Flancer, is going to be introducing us to Costa Rica guide Jose Diaz. And this is a presentation by the GANYC's Multilingual Guides Committee and the Education Committee. And Costa Rica is an ecotourist paradise with only 0.03% of the Earth's landmass, and it contains an astonishing amount of biodiversity. And Jose Diaz will take us on a virtual tour of this remarkable place. It's a nice way of escaping. And he's also, in Costa Rica, a guide must train rigorously with 2 years of preliminary study and then declare a specialty. and study for another year. So it's interesting to see how tour guides work in countries all around the world. And so we're back. So those two things are coming up. A part of that, and if you missed a wonderful series organized by Kevin Lawrence, the Met at 150. It's not too late. They're all accessible, and all our tours that are virtual tours are accessible. We're not doing any in-person tours right now. It's because of the pandemic, it's all virtual. I don't know if Chris wants to jump in or add anything, or anyone has any questions about these upcoming events. I just want to say that, yeah.
Oh, sorry, I was going to say, Nina, unfortunately, actually, the Red Cross presentation, that was through the Red Cross, and it was not recorded because that is not from us. But they did say, and I'm sure Richard can echo this too, that a lot of this information is available, excuse me, on the Red Cross website. So you can see some of that information there. So,
oh, okay.
oh yeah, and Mel asked about the inauguration webinar. We will wait to hear from DC if we get the recording, because it's through DC Guild, and they will be recording it. So we will, I'm sure Nina and the Education Committee will contact them afterwards to ask about sharing the recording with our members too.
Yes, it's their program. They do this every year, and thank DC for that.
Okay. All right, great. Well, thank you very much, Nina. Matt Baker was having a problem with his computer right now to come on screen. So I'm going to move it over to Bob Gelber, who will be reporting for industry relations. Nina, thank you so much. I'm going to put you back as a regular attendee. So thank you.
Okay, great.
Good seeing you.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. And I have the honor tonight of reading the Industry Relations Committee report submitted by our chair, Michael Morgenthau. He was here earlier, but tonight he is working. He's doing a virtual tour for the New York Adventure Club. So we had a great committee meeting in late December, right before the holiday, and we'll be having monthly meetings to start working on initiatives that we've discussed. We've divided the committee into 5 different subcommittees to manage all the different things we'd like to work on. And the subcommittees are Industry Partner Program, bids, and New York City tourism organizations, the Job Fair, GANYC Week, trade shows, out-of-town tourism organizations, and finally GANYC meeting locations, which hopefully we will get back to in a few months. We're still looking for members to be part of our committee. Our next meeting will be Thursday, January 28th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. via Zoom. Email industryrelations@ganyc.org to join the committee, and the Zoom invite will go out later this week or early next week. So next topic is Industry Partner Program 2.0 update. Excuse me. Last Tuesday, Emma and Mike were on a Zoom call with Sam Cohn, our web developer, to start working again on revamping Industry Partner, part of the GANYC.org site. They had mocked up new pages in the fall, and we reviewed them. So look for an updated page in the next month or two with a few notable improvements that will help us make the program more attractive. Clearly displayed area on each industry partner program detailing what type of sort of special offers the partner is offering GANYC members and or members of the public. The ability for industry partners to edit their own entry to reflect new specials, promotions, hours, etc. And this will help keep this information as current as possible. We will send out monthly reminders to our partners to update their listings and make sure our contact info is as current as possible for these partners. And then finally, a mapping feature that will allow you to see the brick and mortar location of all industry partners. We will then start looking into doing more aggressive outreach to potential industry partners as we continue to refine the program. Other items we discussed included attending various industry trade shows, examining a potential spring virtual job fair. Nothing is set on this yet, but stay tuned for updates. And then finally, Mike and I would be remiss if we did not give a special thank you, as always, to Harvey Davidson, who continues to spend countless hours reaching out to various tourism companies and associations to promote GANYC and potentially partner with them. Thank you, Harvey.
Any questions? Yeah, any questions for Bob or about industry relations? And I would like to echo what he just said, and many thanks to Harvey, who does such a great job with, you know, getting us in contact with so many different organizations and so many different partners. So thank you, Harvey. That's really very, very helpful, and you're so dedicated to GANYC, so we appreciate that. So our next, I'm going to bring Derek on to speak about membership, and we'll continue with our discussion. So Derek, take it away.
Okay, hello everybody. It's Derek Chen, your membership committee chair. And I just want to wish everybody a happy 2021, and also an extra special welcome to all of our members, as well as our non-members who are watching and listening to this, which is you, everybody out there, either seeing this live or later on in the recorded session. We're always glad that you're here with us. And I also do want to recognize any of our first-time attendees who are joining us. We always enjoy knowing that we do have new folks coming on. I do want to welcome our newest provisional members. Maddie Levy and Andy Richter have recently become new provisional members. We do also have 2 new full members. These are members who have been a provisional member for a minimum of 1 year. They've also attended a minimum of 4 monthly membership meetings like this one, which obviously is virtual, or one of the membership orientations. We did have one not too long ago. And they've also have had 2 letters of recommendation from full members. So welcome to our newest full members, Bill Kahn and Charlie Nessner. I do also want to give a special thanks to all of our members who have been recommending new members to GANYC. That happens all the time throughout the year. One of the best ways of referring people are from our GANYC members. So if you do know of members or non-members who might be interested in becoming a member, continue to make those referrals. I do want to recognize our most recent members who have been referring new members, and those are Emma Gonzalez, Nina Mende, and the late Lee Gelber. His presence continues to be felt among us. Our current active GANYC membership right now is 391. That, of course, will change with our membership period changing coming up this Friday. And I do want to thank all of our members who have already renewed. And if you haven't, it's very easy to do. The easiest way to do that is online, because you can use a credit card. There's no additional fees to do that. And if you have any questions about that, you can feel free to reach out to me or our treasurer, Jeremy Wilcox, who can very easily walk you through that. And also, just as a reminder, so this Friday coming up is the deadline for renewing your membership without any sort of lapse. So after this Friday, if you don't renew your membership as an active member, you will lose your membership benefits. So if you want to make sure that that doesn't happen, make sure to renew by then. But you, of course, can continue to renew throughout the year. And also, if your membership has already lapsed from the past year, you can renew your membership online. So that's very easy to do. And once you do that, you will be able to regain full access to your membership benefits if you've lost them in the interim period. And I do also want to mention one of our membership benefits. Of course, there are a lot of membership benefits. One of them is our GANYC Guide name badge. I'm wearing it. I'll move a little bit closer so you can see that. Many of you have actually already ordered it. Maybe you're wearing it right now as well. They are available to order on a continuing rolling basis. It's very easy. There is an additional cost for that. You can go to our benefits page. It's GANYC.org/benefits for all the information as far as how to order it, how much it costs. We do have a couple of people who have ordered it, and we're just waiting to receive a few more individual orders so we can group them all together. So if you want to make sure you get into the next order, be sure to do that. And now I'll see if I put the link for the ordering in the chat box as well. That's about it from me. If you do have any questions, I'm happy to answer them now, or you can also reach out to me and the committee via email. That's just membership@GANYC.org.
Great. Thank you so much, Derek, and thank you for all your hard work with the membership and with keeping everybody informed and getting new members to come. So thank you. It's much appreciated. Okay, so we'll move on now to Matt Baker. He will be speaking. He is here, and he will be giving us information about the awards committee and the award ceremony. So thank you.
Thank you, Emma. Thank you, everyone. I humbly apologize. About 2.5 minutes before I was supposed to start my report, my computer screen completely went black, and my computer has been restarting since then. So I do not know what that's about. Alrighty, awards. The big news, the good news is tickets are on sale. And I was actually just about to provide the link to the tickets when my computer screen went black. Jeremy, could you do me a favor and grab that and stick it in the chat for me? Thank you so much. Sorry, I had it all lined up. So yes, tickets are on sale. They are $5 each. This is not a live show, so we are not charging live show prices. Thank you. Wonderful. It's in the chat right now. We're not charging live show prices. We understand everyone is hurting. Everyone is out of work. Trust me, we are too. So it made sense to bring the ticket price way down, just like it made sense to bring the production budget way down, and we are making it work online. So definitely buy your tickets. Tickets will remain on sale through the end of the show. You know, if on February 22nd, the day after International Tourist Guide Day, you have not bought your ticket and the show begins and you suddenly think, yep, I want to see it after all, you can still buy your ticket then. It is not going to be a problem. On the other hand, voting has a much sooner deadline. Every member, that includes provisional members of GANYC, is eligible to vote for these awards. It's the only kind of voting that provisional members can do. That we can't put in the chat because this meeting is open to non-members, but we'll be sending out another email blast tonight. We sent one out when voting was first open. We'll send you another one in case you misplaced that one. We'll also make sure that at the top of our members only Facebook group, we have the voting link available. This is not like the pre-nominations that we did earlier. That was to create the final four. This is now voting for the winner among the final four, voting for your choice for the outstanding person or organization in each achievement category. So make sure you vote before 11:59 p.m. January 19th. That should be easy to remember because it's the day before Inauguration Day. So if the inauguration does not inspire you to vote, I don't know what does. That strikes me as the most voting-oriented inspiration there should be. And I promise that at the GANYC Apple Awards, there will be no rumors of voter fraud whatsoever. So we'll be sending that out one more time tonight, and vote for your choices. You get a chance to do that once. If you want to or have already committed to purchasing an ad for the screen, please remember that GANYC does not create the ad. You do. You send us your ad. We put it on the screen for the period of time that you purchased. There is information about that on the GANYC website, but we'll send that in an email as well. The deadline for that is a little bit later than the voting deadline, so you still have some time for that. But remember that you are sending us an ad of your design. Just want to mention that, as always, remember that the point of the GANYC Apple Awards is it's about community outreach. It's about that part of our Constitution that says we not only look out for the interests of guides, but we enhance and improve the public perception thereof. So it's very much about community outreach. So that is why the presenters aren't all GANYC members. Some of them are, but then there are also people from the community. Jim Mackin has just agreed to present our nonfiction award. Some of you may know him as the author of The New Yorkers of Manhattan's Upper West Side, and I've just put that link in the chat. We also have the wonderful photographer, Rose Callahan, presenting the Photography Award. She published the Dandy series of photography books, which are really awesome, and you can check that out as well. And some of you may know the bloggers Honey Trek, Mike and Ann Howard, who went on their honeymoon 8 years ago and never came home. And their blog has 209,000 followers. And I met them at Travel Fest several years ago, and they have agreed to present our website award. So you can check them out as well. So we are getting more and more really interesting, fun guest presenters who have large followings, and that will, of course, hopefully help with large publicity as well and get that enhanced and improved reputation out there, which is very much what it is all about. So buy your tickets, send your ad materials if you're doing that, and vote. And there will be more at that in the email blasts later on tonight or tomorrow at the latest. That's all I got.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much, Matt.
Thank you. Oh, and remember to send your materials to awards@ganyc.org. Sorry about that.
Yep, awards@ganyc.org. So thank you very much, Matt. You did it. It's fine. It always happens at the worst moment. So thank you. And yeah, I hope everyone attends. It should be fun. I mean, and you can dress really fancy from the waist up, basically, because nobody's going to see the rest of you. So thank you. Thank you for that, Matt. And so if there are no questions for Matt, I don't see anything coming up in the chat. Okay. All right. And Sasha is still here and he's answering questions in the chat, which is very, very kind of him. Okay. So hold on a second. There we go. All right. That's it. So anything else people need to bring up? Board members, do you have anything that you need to bring up to our members? Yep, Jeremy, go for it.
So obviously I want to thank Emma and Derek for, reiterating the status of membership renewals and how to take care of that. I also just want to reiterate about the liability insurance. As many of you know, we are now getting liability insurance through the NFTGA. So it's not the usual policy we've had in years past. The good news is it is a more affordable policy for members. Those who had paid prior to this week, you should be getting your certificates next week, sometime next week. And then obviously we're still continuing to collect payments. The initial information that they had sent me said that if you pay in the second half of the year, there will not be a prorated fee. I'm going to follow up and just confirm more details because again, we're sort of trying something new with the insurance this year. I think ultimately this will be a better policy for everyone, but I'll continue to update membership with more information about that as I get it from the NFTGA.
Great, thank you, Jeremy. And like I said, everyone, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to send them to the board. Board is probably the best email to use if you have a general question, because all the board members see that. But don't forget, on the GANYC website, you can also find a list of all the committees and their chairs, and you can get information about that. That's under the About menu, the About section on the upper menu on the GANYC website. So you'll find everybody's emails right there. And I'm enjoying the back and forth. Yes, John Semler, they are disappearing Jolly Green Giant. And Kevin's beard is great. I have to say, I like your beard. It's not going to be as big as Matt Baker's. I'm not sure if you're going to work on that extent of a beard. But I have to say, I haven't seen this yet. I don't know if anyone has done this, but you know, we're thinking of, I thought of this because of Lee Gelbar and his wonderful handlebar mustache. You know, we need a little mutton chop. We need some of that. So I'm not doing it, but if anyone else cares to, I'd love to see that. So anyway, so thank you all so very much. It was a good meeting. We ended a little earlier so everyone can go watch Way Too Much News. And I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful evening. 2020 will soon be over. It seems like it's sort of malingering. And yes, and so everyone, please be well. Okay, reach out to each other. Take long walks. Don't overdo it on snacks and things like that maybe not be quite so good for you. But I know a lot of people took that vow, you know, the dry January, and I'm going to do a detox with my family. And I was asked if I wanted to start on the 18th or the 25th. And I said, no, we're starting the 25th. Let me get as far through January as I possibly can. I need coffee to get through it all. So anyway, so thank you very much, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy. Let us know what we can do for you. GANYC is always here for you. Please renew if you haven't yet. We do want everyone to stay in our GANYC family. And don't forget to vote for the Apple Awards and come to the ceremony. We'll have another meeting before that, before the actual event, but please make sure you vote. So thank you guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening. And we'll see you all the next go round. So good night, everybody. Thank you.